To park hop or not to park hop? That is a question that a lot of people ask when they're planning their visit to the Disneyland resort. This video will be one part of a several-part series about park hopping at Disneyland. Not Disney World, Disneyland. Although I am sure that some of this information will be relevant for either park. In today's video, we're going to be talking about why you maybe should consider not getting a park hopper. For those of you that don't know, Park Hopper is a paid upgrade that you can get added on to your Disneyland and Disney California Adventure tickets. Your Park Hopper add-on allows you to go between Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. From here on out, known as DCA or Disney California Adventure, I will use those two interchangeably. But anyway, your Park Hopper allows you to go in between the Disneyland Park and the Disney California Adventure Park as many times as you'd like throughout the park day with valid admission. Without the Park Hopper upgrade, you can only visit one park per day. Honestly, in my opinion, there are pros and cons to either option. Hello there, my name is Toxie and I am your typical broke Disney fan from Hawaii. Before we get started, let this be your reminder to drink some coffee, actually hydrate with water, and here we go. After the Avengers campus was opened in Disney California Adventure in 2021, I made the decision to just from now on stick to the one park per day option. There were a multitude of factors that kind of drove me to this decision. Number one, whenever I visit the parks, I visit for at least 3 days. And on top of that, I do tend to visit multiple times per year. Personally, I find a lot more value in Avengers Campus than I did back when it was a Bugs Land. That being said though, I did absolutely love the theming of Bugs Land. It was very immersive and it was absolutely adorable and it made you feel really tiny like a bug. But at the end of the day, it was geared for a younger audience, which once again, this is just me very selfishly saying this, but I'm not a part of that demographic. On top of that, the rides in a Bugs Land were very cookie cutter. Basically, it kind of felt like your standard fare for fair rides, and they just kind of slapped a Disney facade on it. In comparison, Web Slingers, which is a ride in Avengers Campus, it's a lot more immersive and you can tell it was made specifically for Disney and for that park. But that being said though, I do personally enjoy the rides, the shopping, and the food a lot more in Avengers Campus than I did Bugs Land. I should note that as of the time of recording, all of this information is accurate. But that being said, prices, availability, and policies are ever changing. As previously mentioned, this video is going to go over the cons of getting the Park Hopper option. Of course, these are all my personal opinions. You might not agree with some or all of them, and that is fine, but this video really is to kind of help others when they're considering getting a Park Hopper. And if you're looking for reasons that you should get a Park Hopper, that would be in this video right here. In this video, the exact opposite of this one, where over here I go over the positives and why you should get a Park Hopper, or why you should consider getting a Park Hopper. In my opinion, the biggest con to getting a Park Hopper is the price. As is, admission to Disneyland is quite costly, and this is before we consider the pricing of lodging, travel, food, etc., just to get to the parks and to survive in the parks. I am currently in the planning process of a solo Disneyland adventure. And let me tell you, it is expensive. I will either already have a video out about it, or I will be coming out with a video soon regarding my planning process. Since I'm traveling by myself, I am trying to travel as affordably as possible while still being safe. So far, my trip is coming out to be quite a bit of money. For just my hotel and Disneyland park ticket, we're looking at $920 so far. And that doesn't include anything else other than just the hotel and just the park tickets. On the low end, my Disneyland holiday is looking like it's going to be $1,535 at the lowest price I can currently find. And keep in mind, that is just for one person. That's just for me. Of course, when you're traveling in a group and you travel with other people, the price per person will go down, but at the same time, the overall out-of-pocket cost goes up. The reason why I mention this is because at current pricing, your family of 4 can probably eat lunch for 2 days, maybe more, for the cost of just what the park hopper would cost you. If cost is not an issue for you, we also need to consider the fact that park hopping takes time away from your Disneyland day. As anyone who has visited any of the parks knows, lines can be absolutely crazy when you're going in between the parks. Just to enter the park, I have personally waited half an hour in line before, and while I'm not saying this will be your experience, I'm just saying it is definitely a possibility. So what is nice though about the Disneyland parks is that they are very close to each other. Literally, you can stand at the entrance of one, look over to the other side, and look right into the next park. Unlike Disney World where you need to take a shuttle. Honestly though, the proximity, while it is a very nice perk, it doesn't cut down on the fact that it does take up time to go from one park to the other. Of course, if there is close to no wait for a line to get from the one park to the other, it's not that big of a deal, but it is still something to take into consideration. Another one of the really frustrating things about getting a park hopper, and keep in mind that this is just what I've heard, I've never personally experienced this because I travel on off-peak seasons, but there are caps to how many people can be in the parks, which of course we all know. But this capacity limit can negatively affect your park hopper experience. If capacity is reached, they can and will potentially turn down park hopper tickets. This means that you cannot get into your second park, but for your first park, you should be fine. Before we continue on to the next item, if you love Disney as much as I do, please consider subscribing to the channel. I love making new Disney content for you, and by subscribing and liking my videos, you let me know what videos you want to see more of. And I like having these informational videos for you. I really hope that you find value in it. You know what? While you're at it, let me know down in the comments below what your biggest con is to getting a park hopper add-on. I know that you guys are smart and that you will definitely have other ideas that I have not yet mentioned and will not mention. So yeah, let me know down in the comments below. If we get enough amazing responses, then I will do a part 2 to this video with your input involved, included. If you are someone that plans out your Disney day, which is something that I do recommend if you get park hopper, it is a lot of stress to try to plan out your day to make park hopper worth it. Planning times to jump between the parks isn't always the easiest, but it is not impossible. But Toxie, I'm only visiting Disneyland for 1 day. It must be worth it then. I'm sure some people are wondering that right now, but I'm gonna be honest. No. Honestly, if you're in Disney for only 1 day, that is the one time I will tell you to never get a park hopper ticket. Why? It's not worth it. I hate to say it, I hate to put it that way, it is just not worth the time, money, and stress. I would say just go to one park and stick with it. If you are absolutely dead set on doing both parks, this is what I would suggest. And keep in mind that this is something very similar to what I've done in the past, so I know that this works and I know that there is enough time to do this in some situations.
Change of plans. I'm actually going to make this its own video. During the editing process, I found that this would be better fitted as a standalone rather than a lengthy tangent on a video that should be about a specific different topic.
All of that being said, another time I will not suggest getting park hopper, and honestly, these are kind of like hard lands. Overall, these are kind of the hard lines in the sand for me. So there are really only very few things that I will have a hard line in the sand for, as far as never ever doing park hopper. And number one is for the previous point of people who are visiting for only 1 day. Second, this group of people I will never ever suggest to do park hopper. And those are the people that are either first time visitors or first time and a long time visitors. Honestly, the parks change so often that if it's your first time in more than 5 years, there's going to be a lot of new stuff to look at. And I will never suggest a park hopper to a first timer because, let's be honest, you don't know what in the parks you like, and you also don't know the layout of the park. Realistically, as a first timer, you will not get through the Disneyland parks as quickly as a Disneyland Pro would. And there's honestly nothing wrong with that. Personally, I think that if it's your first time visiting, you should take your time. You should take your time to kind of go through and see everything and take in all of the wonderful ambiance, take in the little details, go find yourself some hidden Mickeys, etc. As a Disneyland first-timer, I don't think it's really fair to yourself or your family to have to rush through everything just to make a park hopper worth it. Not worth the time or trouble. Another reason I'm not a huge fan of the park hopper system is because there are restrictions now. After the pandemic restrictions were lifted, Disney introduced something called the park reservation system. Prior to the system, you could park hop at any time with a valid ticket. It didn't matter which park you started at or which park, you're gonna hop to. Now, you can no longer park hop whenever you want to. You can, but only after they allow you to. And the time that park hoppers were available has changed several times in just the last few years. Historically, it's been park hopping available from 2 p.m., park hopping available from 1 p.m., park hopping available from 11 a.m., and honestly, I don't think that 11 o'clock a.m. park hopping is too terrible because you're not really losing a lot of your day. You can still reasonably do like a lunch reservation somewhere, but the 2 p.m. opening was kind of a strange one. And I thought that was really extreme because that was really late in the day, especially if we consider that sometimes the parks close really early for special events. It really cuts down on the amount of time that you would be able to park hop. Just as an example, I'm not saying this was overlap, but as an example, let's say Oogie Boogie Bash, which is the Halloween party at Disneyland. So for Oogie Boogie Bash, for example, the park closes at 6 p.m. So if you were only allowed to park hop from 2, that only gives you a 4-hour window in order to park hop, which I don't think is really worth the cost of the park hopper. Another absolutely frustrating thing about the park reservation system and the park hopper thing is that you need to start at the park which your reservation is for. Let's say, for example, you're running late. Your first park is supposed to be Disney California Adventure, but you have a 11:30 a.m. lunch reservation somewhere in Disneyland. Instead of going straight from your hotel to Disneyland, you have to go from your hotel over to Disneyland California, check in, exit Disney California, go over to Disneyland, check in, and then rush over to your reservation. Basically, this means that even if the clock says you can park hop, Disney says you have to check into your original park first. It's not a huge issue, but it is something to consider once again. FOMO, or the fear of missing out, is definitely a reason why people will get the park hopper. But is FOMO really a good reason to spend the extra money, time, and stress on? Personally, without a solid plan for park hopping, I would say just skip it. Skip the park hopper, especially if you're visiting for multiple days. When I visited DCA in October of 2021, which was the first time I'd visited after the Avengers campus had opened, I had purchased the park hopper option because I thought my family would want to park hop. And realistically, historically, we did park hop. But after that visit, we kind of all came to the consensus that we really don't need to buy the park hopper anymore. Realistically, with the changes done to DCA, the lines are longer, unfortunately, and it is really more of a full-day park now than it used to be. Overall, I don't think having a park hopper is a necessity to have a great Disneyland vacation. There are enough things to do in both parks to realistically fill out an entire Disney day, assuming you don't have any restrictions. Now, we have talked about the cons of a park hopper ticket, but don't be completely discouraged. In this video over here, we will talk about the reasons why you should get a park hopper or why you should consider getting a park hopper. Before you completely decide against a park hopper ticket, please check out that video. It is of course going to be linked over here and down in the description below. If you've already seen the Park Hopper Pros video, please check out this other Disney video, which is from my Disney Stuff playlist. If you want to support this channel, please also consider visiting my eBay or Depop page, where I do have a ton of Disney stuff available for sale. The listing of the video is this item right over here. This is a Disney Parks. It's not actually a onesie, but I'm going to call it a onesie, and it is available on our eBay page. Our links to eBay, Depop, and other social medias are in the description box below. Whether you support this channel by purchasing from the shops, subscribing, liking, or just watching to the end of the video, I want to let you know that I really appreciate your being here. I appreciate you supporting the channel, and I hope you have a magical day. Bye!